Hello, good afternoon, and thank you, Aidan, for that great intro. So for the next 40 minutes, hopefully you'll take away some good learnings and insights. I will introduce Tamar later, but we're deeply privileged to work with Phoenix Group, whom we consider one of the leaders as they think about the future of the workforce. So today's title is Opportunities to Retain Great Talent While Mitigating the Risks of Rising Healthcare Costs and Long-Term Chronic Illnesses for Businesses. So just to, is it this button? It's not working. Do I do it? Oh, there you go. Ooh. Okay, so is there a QR code for Slido or? Ah, there you go. Okay, so we're going to start off by asking a quick question. What proportion of the UK population do you think self-identify as long-term sick? So if you want to just slide your phone over the QR code and enter your answer, and then we'll see. All right, how are we doing? Okay, we've got a lot of very wise and well-informed souls in here. So it is indeed 1 in 6 people in the UK are now considered self-certified as long-term sick. And if you look at this next slide, that's 2.8 million people. And in fact, there was a survey done in February 2024. 2.8 million people is the largest number this country has ever seen of long-term sick. And what that means for the working population is there is someone else looking after that long-term sick person. So there's a bit of a vicious cycle going on here. And of course, many of you will be aware, because you feel it very acutely, is that a lot of companies, when they looked at their group medical insurance last year, went up. And according to the Association of British Insurers, some of those premiums went up 20-odd%, some went up a third, it went all the way up to 55%, and that's had a huge knock-on effect. We know that has meant HR has had to make some very difficult decisions and choices on what they can do for employees as they come into different situations. And unfortunately, that's what you call the cost of care or cost of illness if you're trying to solve it after it's already happened. We now look at the future. So if you think about where the future is heading, this country, along with every advanced country in the world, is now entering an aging population. It is not just those who are retiring, it also means the future of your workforce are going to be those who are over 45. And as the population of children is shrinking because we are experiencing lower birth rates, this means that more and more people are living longer after retirement, and the aging workforce will be looking after more and more older people as they themselves stay in the workforce. There's a little known fact that in the UK, 44% of the families only have one child. So that means if your parent goes to hospital, you are the default child they will call if they need something. And that's 44% of this country. In Europe, continental Europe, that's 49.4%, and it will keep going up. So this means the future of the workforce cannot take into the fact that we can remain productive without thinking about the needs of an aging workforce. Of course, it's not just about aging workforce. However, one thing that's worth noting is last year was the year where the working demographic had what we call a tipping point. And it means that now the working population is looking after more adult dependents than child dependents, yet most companies have very little in place to really comprehensively think about how to support those with more adult dependents. So if you think about the future of work, you think about the future of carers. Carers are 5 times more likely to get sick themselves if they're looking after someone at home. A recent survey by one of our clients showed that on average, a carer who is working at the same time is spending more than 33 hours a week looking after a loved one as well as their job. And their job might be 37.5 to 40 hours. So that's 70 plus hours a week of basically running 2 jobs. And you will begin to see that that's why they get sick. That's why they get very stressed. And we talk a lot about mental well-being and stress coming into the workforce. this is where a significant portion of the root cause is coming from. So 1 in 5 employees are now are juggling both work and care. 2.6 million people actually become carers in the workforce. They don't necessarily quit, so apologies for that slide. About 600 people quit a day from caregiver burnout. And what this will end up basically costing the economy is £8.2 billion in lost productivity, which is a real shame because there's a lot of great talent. However, they can't juggle both lives at once without support. So quick question here. How many unpaid carers, so these are basically families who don't get paid as a professional carer. How many unpaid carers do you think there are in the UK today? Looks like it's a toss-up between 5.4 million and 10.6. Right, are we settling? Okay, the answer is 10.6 million carers, and 7.7 million of them are working or trying to work. Unfortunately, women are 4 times more likely to go part-time or quit their jobs if they become a carer. For sandwich generation carers like myself, you have a teenage kid and you have sort of aging parents. You're trying to juggle both at the same time. And they often say that once your child has flown the nest, you have about 5 years before your elderly parents start getting sick. So that's your honeymoon period. And sorry, that sounds a little abysmal. But however, unfortunately, due to long COVID, due to the back end of delays within NHS and really the adult sort of care system not being able to do what it can, it has meant that more and more spouses and siblings are also getting sick. So it's not just about your parents, it's about people around you as well. So how much do you think it costs to replace a carer in the workplace if they quit as a portion of their salary? Is it 100%? 25%? I love this audience. You know your homework. So the answer is indeed 33%. So a third of a salary literally goes towards trying to, well, first of all, if that role has gone, it's going to take a little while for you to find that person. And then recruiting costs, interviewing costs, people's time, it all adds up. So, what we normally see is that every employee who does not quit will actually save the company money. And the reason why is if you're a carer, you feel half as productive. And this is based on a survey that was run by Harvard Business School last year. They surveyed over 10,000 carers who were juggling work and care, and they basically said they felt 50% less productive as they were juggling a caring role outside of their day job. As many of you know, absenteeism, it's at 6.6 days. Where unfortunately they've used up all their annual leave. So they're now unfortunately having to take other days off, calling in sick, where actually they're trying to juggle taking their mom to hospital. As I mentioned, 10% will burn out and never come back into the workforce again. So they'll just quit. And then, as I mentioned, as we saw earlier, it costs you a third to replace that person of their salary if you're trying to bring them on. Now, we talk about costs, but actually carers are not just around costs. We recently had a long chat with someone who's got, who leads a workforce of 80,000 people, and they've got 55 carers, carer network leads working for them. And it was an amazing chat because she said, I love carers in my workplace because they are resilient. They've gone through many crises. They know how to juggle lots of things at the same time. When I put them in front of a difficult client, they're the best ones to meet the needs of those clients. There's nothing they have not gone through. And the way she learned that was because there was a particular person who the company was going through a very difficult moment. And that person said, this is nothing compared to what I have to do outside of work on a daily basis. So I think we should start looking at carers as actually a really positive element of the workforce. They also have increased empathy. They're brilliant for frontline customer-facing roles. And unfortunately, there are some employees who think of it as, oh, well, they're not here, they have to take time off, or they're really committed. And that is why many carers are afraid to tell their employer that they're a carer. They're worried about being sort of overlooked if there is a promotion on hand, and they're worried about taking time off because they don't want to seem they're not committed to their role, which is a real shame. And that is why I want to just bring our attention to Carers Week. So last June 10th to June 16th was Carers Week this year. And it's led by Carers UK, who are a great organisation. And they were basically talking about celebrating carers for who they are and what all they bring to the UK economy. This year, on April 6th of 2024, the government also introduced the Carers Leave Act, which means that every organisation now needs to be able to be in a position to identify carers inside their workplace. And this means someone who is, if they have someone who's fully dependent on them for their livelihood, they are a carer. It doesn't matter if it's your neighbour, if it's a relative or a significant other. And so what that has meant is the government has begun to, this act itself said, every carer gets a week off of unpaid leave, but it's unpaid. In fact, many employers are now installing paid leave, and Tamar will share more about what Phoenix has done, which leads me nicely to my next slide. So it's with huge pleasure. I'm going to interview one of our clients, but Phoenix Group have done a huge amount. We'd like to show you a video, actually, that Phoenix Group has put in place. We really view them as the pioneers in this industry for what they have done. I'd like to introduce you to Tamar Hughes. She's the Talent Development and Inclusion Director at Phoenix Group, which is the UK's largest savings retirement business. Tamar's really passionate as an advocate for creating good work opportunities and has created a very inclusive working environment where everyone can bring their whole self to work, and she'll talk a bit more about that. Over the last 4 years, she's really led to address gender balance at Phoenix, increased internal progression, championing and embedding inclusive cultures. And I think inclusivity, people think about gender identity, but they don't think about carers, as Phoenix do. Phoenix Group has done a lot to drive thinking on how we can all live better and longer lives, including a call for employers to increase and recognise the important roles of carers and to provide them with 10 days paid leave a year. And I know they have a strategic relationship this year with several charities, including Carers UK. We really view them as an exemplar role model for companies seeking to embrace the future of work, not just about future of carers, and embracing longevity, because we're all going to live longer, all of us. Someone born today is going to die at 104 years old. That's just the longevity professors having run their models and said that's going to happen. So we all want better health outcomes. And with that, I'd like to share with you a video.
I think what people might misunderstand about being a carer is that you carry it with you all the time.
1 in 5 people are currently carers in the UK. It's a big number.
A lot of carers will fall out of work because they feel that they can't do both.
I'm the carer for my eldest daughter, Alice, who has autism. She doesn't and will never be able to live fully independently.
I cared for my dad. He had dementia, and I cared for him for probably 5 years.
Mum, I've always had to be there for her to take her to hospital appointments, break that language barrier as well.
My sister and I care for my dad. He's got Parkinson's and dementia as a result of his Parkinson's.
Challenging things about being a carer is you don't want to be a carer all the time. You can love somebody, but still just find it relentless and hard.
What I don't think people really realise until you're in a caring situation is it's not just balancing a bit of time over here to care and a bit of time over here for work, but it's about getting your head in the right place and the right space in order to be able to do your job, and then get your head in the right space in order to be able to care.
I think it's important to identify yourself as a carer because we have so much support at Phoenix Group, which will really help you in your journey supporting your loved one.
Flexible working is just so important for so many different reasons. For somebody in my situation as a carer, it's priceless really. So I can set up at Dad's, make sure that he's okay, has everything he needs, whilst I can continue to do my job.
Carers leave, I've been able to use.
The carers leave policy at Phoenix Group is 10 days paid care leave, plus an additional 5 further unpaid care leave days.
Mum was in India and she had a fall. Thankfully, I was able to speak to my manager, knowing that we have a policy at work that allows me to be the support network that my mum needed. Straight away I was told that it's fine, family comes first, do what you need to for mum. Booked my flight and out I went.
The Carers Network in Phoenix is just one of our employee networks.
It's an amazing bunch of people. I think we almost have around 200 members.
Being part of the network has been brilliant in terms of learning from others, from different situations and stories that they've experienced.
It's a source of support, information, advice, advocacy, awareness. Maybe the most important thing for me about the Carers Network is that the company, by having that network, has said you are valued as an employee and you're valued as a carer.
If you're questioning whether you're a carer or not, all I would say to you is, if you do something for someone else and they rely on you, like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, you're caring for someone.
Saying I care is a wonderful thing and should be celebrated.
I think I feel comforted that we as an organisation have amazing policies in place to support colleagues.
I feel a freedom to be a carer. I don't feel judged. I feel like I've got the backing to be able to go and do what I need to do. It allows me to stay in work, care for my dad and save for the future that I want.
To have a supportive employer that will see you through that journey is remarkable.
If Phoenix didn't support me, my life would be so different. We say we want to be the best place any of us have ever worked. For me, it is.
Thank you. So thank you to Tamar for sharing that video. So I'd love to now, we're going to have a more of an informal fireside chat. And I'd love to just understand, so why are carers so important to your core strategy at Phoenix Group?
Well, thanks so much, first of all, for the really lovely introduction and for sharing the video that we've made. We do really care about carers because, well, there are three reasons, really. First of all, our purpose is to help people secure a life of possibilities through the pension products that we provide to them and the savings products. And we want more and more people to be able to experience a life of possibilities. The second reason is through our Phoenix Insights think tank that we've created. They've spent an awful lot of time researching the issues of longevity that you were sharing earlier, those statistics, to think about how do we reimagine longer, better lives. And work has to play a really important part in that. If those lives are going to be better, we need people to be able to work longer and to fit in the needs of their family and the rest of their lives alongside it. And for our colleagues is the final reason. You know, Mary said there at the end that this is the best place that she's ever worked. Our aspiration is to attract brilliant talent, keep that talent, and to address the challenge of economic inactivity that we see in our country, where we've got 1 million 50 to 64-year-olds currently not working, citing caring responsibilities are one of the main reasons why they're not able to work. So at the Phoenix Group, for our 7,000 colleagues, we want to make sure that they can balance those responsibilities and stay in work as long as they want to.
Brilliant. Now, when people think about carers, they typically think, oh, you must be just looking after an elderly person. But we know that's not true. And I know Phoenix's video shows that's not true. How do you define a carer in your organisation?
Well, it was really great to hear Henry talk about anybody that you provide consistent support to. And we really are talking about the widest sense. So we have carers of all ages. You also saw Matthew there. He's one of our graduates who's joined our organisation, and he found the support that he got for caring incredible. So we talk about it as being anybody that relies on you for help. That's you providing care, and we want to make sure that people know that it happens at all ages, at all stages, to all genders, to all ethnicities. Anybody, anywhere can be a carer.
Got it. So now we know you implemented Carers Leave way before Carers Leave Act came in place.
Yeah.
So we know Carers Leave Act was proposed in 2023 and passed, but it didn't become law until this year. What policy did you end up putting in place, and why did you decide to do that? And more importantly, what benefits have you seen since that policy has been installed?
Sure. So we put in place 10 days of paid carers leave in 2020, and it was in response to listening to the carers in our business. They played a really significant role in our carers network in helping us to drive that change through. We also want to be a voice that represents so many other organisations and so many other people, and we believe that as a large FTSE 100, it's our responsibility to set out what good work looks like. So we're really keen to talk about 10 days of paid carers leave that enables people to do the simple things, like take their parent to a medical appointment without feeling that they need to take any sick leave or tell a small lie or try and cover it up, or try and juggle it and fit it in and squeeze it and make their lives really difficult. We want people to be able to show up as the best version of themselves. So it was really important to us to say that we recognise carers in our business, we recognise the qualities that they bring, and we want to be able to support those individuals to stay in work for as long as they need to and want to. The benefits are huge. I mean, we asked people to come forward for the video that you just watched. It really has made a massive impact to people's lives, but it means that their loyalty and their engagement and their real affinity with Phoenix Group is really strong. It's something that marks us out as an employer of choice, which is exactly what we want. And as a result of proposing things like carers leave alongside a wide range of other benefits, we really are able to then attract talent to our business.
Yeah, I actually just want to emphasise that. So when I was about 20 years ago, I had to take carers leave. This is before it was popular. And I remember my boss was so good to me and that company was so good to me. When I finally went back, I worked 5 times as hard and I was 10 times as loyal. And it took super glue cleaner to remove me from the company. But that really does mean a lot. If you want loyalty to your company, taking care of them when they're at the most vulnerable is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does pay dividends, and it's not that you're trying to win something back, but the way that people feel about work is significantly changed when they know that they're recognised for the hard work that they have to do outside of work.
Yep. Now, I know some employers are afraid of carers leave because they think, oh my gosh, I'm not a huge employer, I can't afford to give all this time off for people. But so I'm very curious, what has been the actual uptake of this policy, and what have you seen on some of the benefits of this?
Mm-hmm. It was interesting. Yesterday I was talking with a group of people across the insurance industry about policies, and we were talking about the fact that we create policies and then we're almost like a bit worried that people are actually going to use them. Like, what if everyone takes up this policy that we've put out there? But in all honesty, people take about 3 days of the 10 days of leave, and they don't take it like 3 days all in a row. Obviously, you heard Asha talk a little bit there about when she went out to support her mum who was in India. You can take it all as one block, but people tend to take it in small chunks and fit it in around their working week, and so it's entirely manageable. But what it says to everybody is, we can see you, we recognise you, and we know that you've got this important role to play, and that's fine. We're all good with that. So having things like a drop down in when you go to report absence, having a drop down on there, we have one about menopause, we have one about carers. It makes it completely okay to talk about being a carer and to access the support that's available.
That's brilliant. Right, so I think you've hinted about the culture.
Oh yes.
Do you think this has given you a true competitive advantage by having this in place?
Definitely. There is this alongside many other benefits, but people talk about them all the time when they join our business, when they've been working here. Sometimes people don't always know about all of the policies that you create. So when you can point a person to a policy at a time that they need it, a support or a benefit at the moment of need, you can instantly see not only the relief, but also there's just a great sense of real value that is created between yourself and the individual. So we see that, and you talked a little bit about the skills that we see carers bring into the organisation. We see that played out all the time, Stephanie. People with excellent skills, more empathetic, more understanding, able to talk to customers, able to manage difficult and challenging situations. So the real benefit is that when we listen to what people need and we respond to that, we do see the benefits inside the organisation.
Yeah, and I know a lot of employers are always talking about hiring people with good EQ.
Yeah.
You need good EQ to be a carer, for sure.
Indeed.
And then one final question from me. So, obviously we're very grateful that you became one of our clients. You could have picked anyone, but I'd love to understand, why did you decide to take on a service like KareHero, and what impact has that made to your company and the people you've inside it?
The thing about KareHero is, so there's first of all, there's the paid leave. Then there are things that we put on as part of our wellbeing broader offering, access to mental health support and things like EAP, the pretty standard benefits. But there was no practical benefit, which is around, what happens when it happens to you, when suddenly you need to think about a parent that may need some care, they may need to go into a care home. What happens if suddenly you're dealing with dementia and you don't know where to go? How do you work out and help your parent or the person you care for think about their finances? Who's helping you to do that? These things are tricky to navigate, and you don't always know where the right place is to go. So finding KareHero really solved that challenge for us, because we were hearing from our carers of the terrible situations they were often finding themselves in, and then the amount of stress and pressure it was putting on them. So to be able to provide a package of support that really deals with the practicalities of, how do I set up a power of attorney? I don't know where to begin. All of those things are covered through KareHero, and since we've implemented it, we've had some people taking it up and be genuinely, like, I can only think gobsmacked as the word to describe it, at what is actually on offer for them. And it's really simple to connect to them, so they can literally immediately get hold of that support in the moment that they need it the most.
Brilliant, thank you. And I didn't pay her
She didn't
to say
pay
that.
me to say that,
So that's great. Right, I know we've got less than 10 minutes left, so we'd love to open up the floor for any questions. It's so wonderful to have Tamar here, so we'd love to, please do keep adding questions that you've got. Right, so the first question is, what is the source of the data, please, and is there a linked paper? I don't know, it's anonymous, I don't know what the question, which data are we talking about?
The stuff you presented.
Oh, yes, so there's...
Because you were a lot of facts.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely, yes. So there's a Harvard Business Review on this. There's World Bank data that we've used, as well as UN data. So if you share your email with REBA, we will send you all the papers where we've got this data from. Thank you. All right. Next question. Is the policy UK-centric or global? And if global, do you see challenges in terms of cultural differences around implementation?
So with our 10 days paid leave, that is a UK offering. We have a very small representation in Europe, and we extend it to those colleagues in our European branches, but it's not global. There's a very small number of colleagues in the European business.
Yep. And actually, I'd like to just share. So every country, as I mentioned earlier, is entering an aging workforce. In Japan, you can get 93 days off now for carers leave. It's government and it's mandatory, but you can't take more than 2 weeks off at a time. And that's because they've realized, and that country has the lowest birth rate in the world and the highest longevity in the world. They've realized there is no way to function as a country and an economy without that. So they've become very, very empathetic to that. And actually, a lot of carers networks leads are men, because they traditionally had to stay in the office. Yep. And now they need to be able to work from home, and that's a huge cultural shift. So you can see countries are moving mountains to try and accommodate the future of their work.
Yep.
Brilliant. All right, next one. I have the flexibility to care for my loved one, and we don't have a policy for it. Where do you see the difference between having a policy or just open culture?
Well, I think it's brilliant if you've got an open culture. But what I would say is that we often find all the way through, when we measure engagement, for example, that different teams have different ways of and setups, and we know that if you've got a really good line manager, a really good function, that's great. You probably are getting all of the support that you need, but that is not true of every single team and for every single person. So the thing that having a policy does is it recognises it. Now, the policy really just sits there in the background. It's really about how you sell that into the business, how you communicate it, how you engage people. We tell a lot of stories about people taking carers leave, the benefits of it, how they've managed their work and the caring, so we bring it to life. So I think it's the great thing about having a policy is it puts it alongside all of the other things that we put importance on and recognises people's role as carers as being really important.
Yeah, we do hear it, unfortunately, from clients who find themselves in a what we call the manager lottery.
Yeah.
So if you've got a great manager, you're fine. If you don't, then you are twice as stressed because now your manager doesn't understand and you can't openly take time off. So it becomes a real conundrum. All right, next question. Would you recommend setting a global minimum standard of paid carers leave?
I don't know what I'd say about that. I mean, I think that carers leave needs to be, I mean, you just heard there that great example about, Japan. I think there has to be a standard that's right for the culture and the country, what's happening, the demographics. We should push all the time for creating standards around carers leave, but I don't know that I'd say a global minimum standard. What do you think, Stephanie?
I think it's quite tough because every culture is different. Like India, for example, people now have a health insurance that they attribute for their parents. Paid care might be something quite different. I think it really depends on every country's particular dynamics. In the Middle East, it's a very young, the country's very, very young. So paid carers leave might mean very little. Whereas some countries, it will be a real godsend.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to take two more questions. So what are the main reasons for using the policy, childcare and elder care aside? So actually, just to share, we do adult care, and certainly Phoenix, as Tamar just mentioned, there are people who are managing their loved ones they could be 27, they could be 35. This is not just about elderly care, but the main reason, I guess, I don't know if you want to answer that question. What are the main reasons for using that policy?
Yeah, the main reasons are taking people to appointments, helping them to sort out financial things, so like taking them along to banks, getting them around sometimes. They just need to get from one place to another. We see lots of people working outside of the policy as well, so they don't need to take the carers leave. Again, you heard Henry in there talking about just working remotely at the parent's house so that he's around, and so lots of people are doing that because we've got lots of flexible working. And I'd probably say that that's one of the key elements to go alongside this, is making sure that your flexible working is truly flexible and people have the ability to adjust. So it could be about childcare, adult care, elderly care. I'm not sure that we've actually measured the main reasons, but those are the ones that we talk about a lot when we talk in the carers network in our ERG.
Okay, I know we're running out of time, so the other questions we'll answer back by email, so apologies for that. Just going to quite quickly move on. So sometimes people talk about what does it actually mean to be a carer, and Tamar talked about the practical solutions. If you're a carer, you're on the left. You're basically in what we call the middle of a very messy spaghetti. In the UK specifically, you're trying to deal with the NHS, local authorities, GPs, there's backlogs everywhere. You're trying to figure out how to navigate some of that system on your own. And we oftentimes see people who don't even know where to start, or they've spent 6 weeks trying to figure it out on their own, and they're even more lost than when they tried to start. So that's what it means by practical support versus signposting. Signposting alone can't solve for this problem. And then with the remaining 1 minute, we'd just like to share with you a short video where we talk about what we do.
Meet Jen. Overnight, she became a carer for her husband, a reality she never thought she'd face. And for 10.6 million people in the UK, that's how they live their life every day. In the UK, the working population now looks after more adult dependents over the age of 65 than children under 15. In fact, 1 in 5 of us are carers like Jen, juggling work responsibilities around caring for an adult loved one. Jen found trying to understand and navigate the complex care system while trying to stay professional and productive at work took its toll and left her feeling overwhelmed, depressed and unable to cope. In the UK, 600 people quit their job every day due to caregiver burnout. Women are 4 times more likely to reduce hours or quit. 83% of carers say they feel depressed. Caregiver absenteeism costs UK businesses £8.2 billion in lost productivity every year. KareHero is an award-winning digital and human care concierge that turns the chaos of caregiving into as simple and as stress-free a journey as possible, helping carers like Jen and their entire family as they navigate through their care journey. We work with employers that are passionate about inciting positive change for carers in their workforce. KareHero helps families navigate the complicated processes of hospital discharge, putting power of attorney in place, understanding your loved one's care needs, securing funding to help pay for care, matching you with the best care providers at the right time. When carers are ready to return to work, we work with employers to make their return much smoother by helping employers build a truly carer-inclusive workplace with a dedicated carer support network, a carer identification scheme and a manager training programme. With over 175 years of aggregate care expertise, KareHero are on a mission to democratise access to care support through organisations that care about their people. To find out more, reach out to hello@karehero.com today.
Thank you. Sorry, this is the only video we've got, so I didn't want to heavily plug. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Stephanie and Tamar. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Today, I know we didn't get to all of your questions, but please do feel free to pop down, speak to Stephanie and the KareHero team on their stand. That's the end of the session today.